Hey everyone, this is Braden from the Catechumen, and welcome back to another episode of Catήχησις, the series where we play Minecraft, talk about Catholic theology, apologetics, and history in response to Redeem Zoomer. You know, eventually these videos, we're gonna run out of Redeem Zoomer content eventually. So we'll probably go through the Catechism in about a year or two. But there's a lot of Redeem Zoomer content that goes unresponded to or unreplied to or whatever, however you want to say it. And so I have taken the opportunity to use this series to reply in kind to Redeem Zoomer. Last episode, we responded to their video, Which Ecumenical Councils Are True? And in this video, we're going to be continuing our critique, but we paused last time for a very specific reason. That being, he kind of opened a can of worms at the very last second right before I had to end, and I didn't want to make this video, or that video, longer than it had to be. So in this video, we're going to be responding to his section on Nicaea II, or the Seventh Ecumenical Council, which is, if you saw the thumbnail, about holy icons, the controversy of iconoclasm. And so, before we get into that, we're going to rectify some wrongs. I actually, and I promise I wasn't trying to be like the comment police and delete this comment. I wasn't trying to control the flow of information or reduce my I don't know. I wasn't trying to shield myself from criticism, but I found this comment, and it was actually my favorite comment of the entire video. That basically said that quoted me saying, "Oh, look, there's a village. We're gonna go and evangelize everyone, and we're gonna build a church, and we're gonna make them all Catholic, and these pagan villagers need to convert to Christianity." And then he says, proceeds to loot their houses, build half a church, kill their animals, and logs off. My friends, that is not how we're going to be doing this playthrough. We have to have a completely consistent, coherent Catholic playthrough of Minecraft, and we can't be stealing items. That's a sin. So, once we find a priest up in here, we're going to probably have to go to confession. But no, we're going to rectify the wrongs. We're going to return what we stole from all of these villagers, from all the villager houses. And we are going to return their animals. And we are finally going to finish this church. And if we have time, I want to build an icon. I want to build an icon in this city. And we're going to name this like Iconopolis or something like that. Yeah, you know what? We're going to name the city Iconopolis. I'm going to be the declared king, but it's going to be a phenomenal rule. I'm not going to be a tyrant. I'm going to turn them to the true faith. So, anyways, I accidentally deleted that video because I was trying to pin the video to the top of or pin the comment to the top of the video, and it didn't work because I accidentally hit delete, and there's not an undo button. So thanks a lot, YouTube. I'm going to blame this on you. I'm going to blame this whole fiasco on you. And it's getting nighttime, and I'm not going to sleep in their beds because I want to have a moral playthrough. So I'm going to go get some wood so that we can build an actual bed. So anyways, if you guys have any suggestions as to what we should talk about next on Catήχησις or Catechisис, then let me know in the comment section below what Redeem Zoomer video, or if you just wanted me to talk about a subject. I was actually just kidding. All right, everyone, we are back. I had some very pressing dad duty to attend to, but yeah, we are back in the Catήχησις world. It's been hours since I did the few-minute intro that I just did. So I'm trying to get back on my train of thought. But yes, today we're going to be talking about Nicaea II, and specifically Redeem Zoomer's claims of Nicaea II. Now, I suppose, it's already super late, so I'm probably going to postpone half of this video until I can record longer. So for the first part of this video, I'm going to go over some of the relevant historical facts. And I also need to remember that before I came here, I put all my stuff in a chest. And so this isn't even all the stuff I have. I have more stuff. But let's see. We're going to make the church our base for now. And we actually have to go back. We have to go back in the YouTube video and see from whom I stole stuff and actually return that. So let's go ahead and do this. We're going to make a bed. We're going to, I thought it was closer to night than it was. Maybe it was just morning. And this is just our little makeshift fort for now. So I'm going to go ahead and look in this video. What did I steal? Okay, so here we go. So there's a double-doored house from which I stole apples and potatoes and saplings. So yes, Nicaea II, for those of you who are not aware, was the Seventh Ecumenical Council, and you know what? I don't need to put it back exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. Okay. Boom. Boom. This, and then these feathers. It was an ecumenical council in the first. Oh no, we don't have any bread. I need to get 2 bread. Let's make some bread. Let's farm their farm for them and make some bread. It was the 8th Ecumenical Council, or 7th Ecumenical Council, in the early 8th century. At least that's when the controversy started. And the controversy was regarding iconoclasm. And iconoclasm basically just means the breaking of images. There was a heresy that arose that believed that the images, the religious images that we made of saints, of God, as well as, associated with this heresy was the rejection of relics and intercessory prayer to the saints. And so this rejection of these things occurred in the early 8th century, and really in the first quarter of the 8th century is whenever it really took off. And so the church responded to this controversy by clarifying the church's position on iconography, religious images, and stuff like that. But I suppose we should clarify the Council of Nicaea didn't meet until the end of the 8th century. So the controversy began whenever Emperor Leo III rose to govern the empire, and really his reign was the beginning of this iconoclastic controversy. Okay, let's see what goes in this chest. Our leather cap, leather pants, 3 loaves of bread, leather. Okay, let's get the 3 loaves of bread going. Actually, I have an idea. Instead of going through this video and doing these chests one by one, since I actually don't have all the materials I need, like I need to grow some potatoes and stuff, I'm going to make signs for each of these chests, and I'm going to make sure that we have a checklist. Okay, here we go. 3 bread, 4 apples. Okay. 4, boom. Okay, yeah, now we just need 3 bread. Actually, we need 2 bread for this one, because I will put in, there we go, IOU, 2 bread. That one's good. Okay, there we go. I think the last thing that we have to do is get some more bread for the house. I only need 2 more pieces of bread. So we're going to sit here and wait for the grass to grow. Anyways, the emergence of iconoclasm in Leo III, it's sort of mysterious, and it's unclear as to why now specifically is the time for this heresy to arise. It may have been in response to some theological issues or theological considerations with the rise of Islam, but really, at the beginning of Leo III's reign, he actually fought off Muslim invaders, and so it's hard to establish that Leo III was influenced in a positive way by Islamic theology and specifically in regards to making images of God. And it's actually unclear as to whether Leo III himself thought all religious imagery was immoral, or whether he thought the creation and veneration of icons could have led to some abuses and to some superstition. And so those things are sort of unclear. We can make inferences. People go back and forth. I have a few books on this subject. I know Leo Donald Davis, this is a very good work if you're wanting to study the first 7 ecumenical councils. He holds the position that he was iconoclastic, or that he was iconoclastic, that he actually believed that they were idolatrous. And this would make sense if we were to infer what his position was substantially. This would make sense because after he, one of the big things that he did is he removed an image of Christ from the palace in Constantinople. And this obviously caused like a big uproar because this was an important image, and obviously Constantinople, from at least the Eastern Church's perspective, was the new Rome. It was an important place for religious expression of Eastern Christianity. And so because of this, Pope Gregory II actually had a series of letters between him and Leo III, of which we only have, actually that was kind of dumb to be sprinting around like that. Let's go sleep. And we can't sleep in the villagers' beds. No. We have to go all the way up to the tower. And I think that these carrots are good to eat, if I remember correctly. I don't think there were any chests that we stole these from. You know what? Actually, we should maybe stay up a little bit and see if we can kill any skeletons. And so, anyways, Leo III removed an important image of Christ from the palace, or at least the palace gates at Constantinople. And this sparked outrage, which led to a series of events where Leo III, Gregory II, Emperor Leo III, Pope Gregory II, were sending letters back and forth, and we only have preserved one of, or I guess a series of responses from Pope Gregory II. Goodness gracious! And so we don't actually have Leo III's defense of why he did this, but we do know that Gregory II. Goodness gracious, we have Pope Leo the First. We have popes that are named Leo, so I keep mixing it up. We do know that Pope Gregory II was defending the practice of creating religious images in general, and saying that the Old Testament prohibition against idolatry wasn't the same as what the Catholic Church has historically done in making religious images and venerating them. And so he indicated a fundamental difference between the creation and worship of idols and the creation and veneration of icons. And so we can basically deduce from that response made by Gregory II that Leo III probably believed that images in and of themselves were idolatrous, and he probably based this off of the Old Testament prohibition. And Leo Donald Davis actually cites that belief about images from Jews of the time as a reason why Leo III would reject it. And, the merit of that argument, I think it's there. I think it would make sense that Leo III rejected religious images on that basis, but it does represent a novel position. And it's actually the rise of iconoclasm, according to, what's his name, Belitto. What's his first name? Christopher Belitto. He's the author of this textbook on the general councils of the Catholic Church. He actually said, there's skeletons over here, and there's 2 creepers. Okay, let's see if we can bypass it. Actually, I want to turn the brightness up a little bit because I am getting blinded, my friends. Okay. Ooh, there's a baby zombie. Okay. Let's run. Let's get out of here. Let's see if we can sleep, actually. Okay, we can. They weren't close enough. Okay, now they're going to be burning. But we see the skeletons over there, so we're going to go get their bones. What was I saying? Oh, yes. Belito said that it was the presence and rise of Latter-day Monophysites that led to this iconoclastic position. And once we actually look at Leo III's successor, Constantine the Fifth. Is it the fifth or is it the fourth? It's Constantine. No, it's Constantine the Fifth. It's actually his son. When we look at Leo III's successor and the means by which he goodness gracious, I'm so scared of creepers. The means by which he substantiated his position, he actually used a combination. It's so ironic. He actually used a combination of Nestorian and Monophysite reasoning. Even though he explicitly tried to condemn Monophysitism, it was clear that he didn't understand the reasoning that Monophysites used for their position, and so he utilized a lot of the similar positions. We'll get to that a little bit later, because one of Redeemed Zoomer's critiques of Nicaea II is that it has a flawed Christology, which is just so ironic because the emperor that called the Council of Hieria in the mid 8th century actually held to and substantiated his position by appealing to quasi heretical positions of Christology. And so it's actually the Catholics holding on to the faith of Chalcedon, the faith of Ephesus, that condemned Nestorianism and condemned Monophysitism, that led to the rejection of iconoclasm. And so we'll get to that in a little bit. I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because I thought that was a very funny a very funny position on Redeemed Zoomer's part. Okay, here we go. Now we have enough to finally restore relations with these poor villagers that I stole bread from. And you know what? I'm going to go ahead and give you an honorary crafting table, because I just keep making crafting tables and leaving them everywhere. All right. 2 bread. Boom. Mission completed. We're all done with... that was a lot less than I thought it would be. We are all done helping you villagers get back to your former glory. So sorry for kind of messing you up here. I'll give you all those. There you go. And you can have these seeds too, because we don't need them. We want this village to grow. We want Iconopolis to be a very powerful empire in society. Maybe we'll build walls eventually. Oh, look at all these villagers trapped in here. Come on, guys. Get out. Come on. How did they get stuck in here so randomly? And so, yeah, you have Belito linking the rise of the rise of a new sect of Monophysitism in the early 8th century with the rise of iconoclasm in the early 8th century with Leo III, as well as you have people like Philip Hughes. I think it's Hughes. I forget how you pronounce it. I forget how you pronounce it. Also noticing the Monophysite and Nestorian reasoning on behalf of not Leo III, because we don't really have much of his writings actually, I don't think we have any of his writings to look at and critique today, but we do have the acts of the Council of Hieria, and we also have the writings of Constantine V to kind of go over in his kind of decree concerning iconoclasm. I think it's time to make iron armor. I don't know why we haven't made iron armor yet. In any case, the reasoning of this heretical council that was called prior to the Council of Nicaea, or the Second Council of Nicaea, by Constantine V, was a flawed, weird, quasi-monophysite reasoning that emphasized the deity of Christ over Christ's humanity, and said that you could not depict Christ using any kind of imagery because it wouldn't capture or adequately capture the divinity of Christ. All right, my friends, now that we are prepping for some more resource gathering, and we have settled our disputes and our debts with the villagers, I think I'm gonna sign off. I think I will. I think I will have a lot easier time trying to. I think tomorrow, after a good night's oh goodness, I Can you imagine if I just died right there? I think tomorrow, after a good night's rest, I'll be able to continue this video, but as for now, I am far too tired to be able to continue this video with any sort of substance, and so I will see you guys very, very soon from your angle. Okay, my friends, we are back in Catechumen after... quite a few days on my end, but it won't look like anything to you guys except probably lighting change and camera change and shirt change. I hope I'm not wearing the same shirt. I don't think I am. And is it day or night? Okay, it is night. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and sleep. So as far as I remember, we restored the possessions of these villagers. We still have to finish this church, which means we need more resources, which is why I made 2 new iron pickaxes. And so I'm going to be mining for some cobblestone, and then hopefully we'll turn that into stone, but I'm not sure how much time we actually have. But yes, we're back, and I think last time we left off on the notes of Leo the III's dispute with Gregory the II. So I think that's where we left off. I'm gonna go ahead and get some wood before we go down there as well, so we can make some sticks. And hello, sir. And we also, I'm thinking that we also need to, not in this episode, I think I'm kind of overloading this episode with quite a few things to do, but I think eventually what we're going to need to do is find a lectern, I think that's what it's called, one of those bookshelf block things that we can use, which is a villager occupation block, and that will give us a priest, I think? No, actually a cleric. Doesn't a cleric use a brewing stand? We might actually need, in order to get our priest up in this world, we need to get a cleric. That is the priest person. So I think that we need a brewing stand, if I'm not mistaken. Which I probably am. Either way, we need a lectern to go in the church, just so that the rubrics are followed for a church, and I want to make this as good as possible. So anyways, I think, yeah, so I addressed Leo III. He had a dispute with Gregory II on the creation and veneration of images. It would seem, at least according to Leo Donald Davis, but I think I would hold this view as well, that Leo III was actually an iconoclast and based his objection upon the Mosaic prohibition of creating and worshiping idols, which, if you're Catholic, you would know that actually doesn't apply to the creation of icon or creation and veneration of icons, simply because, number one, the Mosaic prohibition isn't against images wholesale in themselves, because, as we know, God actually commanded for images such as the cherubim to be created and embroidered on things like vestments, and also the garment, or the veil, and certain things within the tabernacle and temple. There were at least those cherubim. There were cherubim that were actually graven. They were actually graven cherubim that were forged to overshadow the Ark of the Covenant. And so those are just 2 simple examples of when God commanded the creation of an image, either in graven form or in ungraven, just embroidered or not carven, I guess, but put into the actual decoration of the temple and tabernacle. So if you look at the instructions for either creating the tabernacle, which God gave to Moses on Mount Sinai, or you look at the instructions given to Solomon. Both of those actually include the creation of images, as well as things like, I think there were pomegranates and stuff. And really, the temple in the tabernacle was meant to be a reflection of and a type of the Garden of Eden. And so just kind of showing that, yes, God used to dwell with human beings, and this is just this is a way of him dwelling with us again, although in a mediated form. And the Holy of Holies was meant to really be portrayed as that garden. And I actually, I learned a lot of this symbolic imagery and typology from the Bible Project in their series on I can't remember what their series was on when they talked about this, but they have a good series on spiritual beings. It's actually what got me into reading scripture more when I was in high school, as well as just getting into theology in general, as the Bible Project videos. Obviously, I don't agree with Tim Mackey and that the other guy. Oh, man, I forget what his name is. I feel like it's John and Tim Mackey. I don't agree with them about everything, because obviously they're Protestant, and there's some sort of non-denominational Protestant, but they're obviously not Reformed, because they use imagery in their videos all the time. That's kind of like the whole point. And so they have a series on YouTube, as well as a podcast kind of going over the symbolic imagery. And I'm sure I could find some other ones online as well. But yeah, you know what also would be really cool? If we found some like actual marble, because I think there's, what is it called? Is it called marble? And there's this thing called a geode underground that you can find that actually has like crystals and marble in it. And I think it'd be cool to use marble for the altar. And because of the the space constraints, we are going to make an altar up against the back. So yes, it's an immovable altar. And okay, so here we go. Got full iron armor. We got our shield. We might actually make another shield before going down. Okay, back to what we were talking about. I believe, so now that we've addressed Leo the Third and his iconoclastic objections based off of Mosaic, or the prohibitions against the creation of idols and the worship of idols, I think we can now move on to the more substantive disagreements as forwarded by the council, the heretical council of Hieria, which was prompted by the iconoclastic emperor Constantine V. I think I had actually addressed this a little bit. Actually, maybe we do need a little bit more food before going down. Here we go. And so Leo III seemed like more of a moderate iconoclast. He did, introduce some iconoclastic reforms that resulted in the removal and the removal and the breaking of images. But Constantine V, especially after the Council of Hieria, just kind of cranked it all the way up. And the heretical council of Hieria was mainly just against the creation and veneration of images in general. However, once the council was over, Constantine V not only ordered the most severe persecution of Catholics, but he also introduced novel reforms that would outlaw the use of relics, and also the invocation of the saints. And so you see why the Reformed like to appeal to the Council of Hieria and like to appeal to Constantine V and those Christians who kind of went along with his reforms. But actually, after the Council of Hieria, a lot of the bishops who had participated in this council, once they saw how Constantine V kind of went off the rails, they kind of retracted themselves. And so there's that. That's why there isn't really a iconoclast Christian movement that is traceable to the mid 8th century. And so Constantine V, when he called the Council of Hieria, he also wrote this treatise kind of outlining his view on the subject that he sent to all the bishops who were participating. And we're going to get into that in a little bit whenever we hear Redeemed Zoomer talk about what he sees to be the fundamental issue with Nicaea II, that being Christology. And it's the irony is astounding when we get there. But yes, the Council of Hieria was held mid 8th century, and then whenever Constantine V died, 30 years after. I hear a zombie. Like 30 years after the Council of Hieria, the Empress Irene, along with her son, who was only, I think, 10 or 15 at the time, Constantine VI, convoked the Seventh Ecumenical Council. Come on, can I find this cave? And that is where orthodoxy ultimately prevailed over the heterodox position of iconoclast. And so I mentioned earlier that Leo III based his iconoclast positions. There it is. Oh my goodness, this cave looks kind of promising. There we go. Oh, there's a geode. Geode, right? Is that what it's called? That's what I was talking about with like the crystal and the marble. Okay, here we go, buddy boy. Here we go. Oh, sorry, I was looking at a text message. Okay, he was just over there. Okay. There we go. Let's go. Okay, so now we can actually get some good-looking material. It seems like there's another cave over there. Maybe the geode is blocking that cave. And so, yes, the arguments used by Constantine V were based off of a flawed Christology, which is what I was talking about earlier as being ironic, because Redeemed Zoomer's issue with the Second Council of Nicaea seemed to be based off of his presupposition that the council was operated with a flawed Christology. And so we'll kind of get into the weeds here after I go ahead and play this clip from him, because I think this is a good spot to play his clip while I'm digging up this awesome material.
Seventh Ecumenical Council, there was no consensus. The Seventh Council is the Second Council of Nicaea, not to be confused with the First Council of Nicaea. The Second Council of Nicaea actually came after a previous council that said the exact opposite thing. So that shows right away.
Mineshaft. Okay, first of all, I want to address this. So Redeemed Zoomer says that the Second Council of Nicaea, one of the reasons why he doesn't accept it is because unlike the other ecumenical councils, this ecumenical council actually doesn't establish or reveal a consensus, because there was a council that was held 33 years previously, prior to the council, that had actually said the exact opposite thing. And so I just want to highlight the fact that just because there is a council, a self-proclaimed ecumenical council that apparently disagrees with the true ecumenical council, that does not mean that the true ecumenical council isn't representative of the church or isn't representative of the majority. Now, the Council of Hieria actually had a lot of bishops represented. But this isn't, unlike, as Catholics, but this doesn't, oh my goodness, there's so much. I need to kind of slow down the pace here and make sure I'm exploring this safely. Okay, here is a minecart. Just because there were a lot of bishops present at a council does not mean that it is representative of the whole church or representative of really the majority of Christians. What would make an ecumenical council, or what would make a general council ecumenical that is applicable for the whole world, isn't due to its reception. Rather, its reception by the church is is mandated and required because of its ecumenical status. And as Catholics, we would just take the historic position and say, okay, the reason why certain councils are deemed ecumenical and certain ones are not simply comes down to the ratification of the council by the Bishop of Rome, because the Bishop of Rome, the Pope, has universal jurisdiction. Okay. And so if you look at the Council of Hieria, if you look at the Robber Council of Ephesus, if you look at other councils that were held at certain time periods, they are not considered ecumenical because they were either condemned by the Pope or never ratified by the Pope. And this actually also applies to certain councils that were originally intended to be local councils, such as the Council of Constantinople, the first Council of Constantinople that was held in 381. That was meant to be a local council, but upon papal ratification of it in the Council of Chalcedon, it was elevated to ecumenical status, not in all of the canons, but only in the creed. It was deemed to be an ecumenical creed applicable to all Christians and held as a standard, the standard for orthodoxy. I don't want to lose these, really, so I'm going to place them down. Oh, I don't really want that. I'm going to place those down. Do we need, we need melon seeds because we might as well keep them. Okay, we have a bow now. Good. Okay, good stuff. Let's consolidate that. Awesome. So, yes. Redeem Zoomer would just say, okay, a council is considered ecumenical because it gained gradual reception by the church. We would just say, no, it's not ecumenical because of its reception. Its reception is because it is ecumenical. And so you can have attempts at gathering an ecumenical council, such as that of the Robber Synod of Ephesus, and such as the Council of Hieria. But just because they tried to convene a general council that would be considered ecumenical and binding for all of the Christians doesn't mean it actually was. And so from the get-go, there's that. But also, ecumenical councils are especially needed whenever there is a dispute among Christians, when the technical position of Christians can't be coherently or at least extremely clearly established. And so the whole reason why ecumenical councils are useful in these instances is because the dispute can be resolved. So saying, okay, there was a dispute, there were differing opinions among Christians, yeah, that's fine. Catholics concede that. That doesn't really mean that the Second Council of Nicaea isn't ecumenical. It wouldn't, like I said, it wouldn't even mean that the Second Council of Hieria, it wasn't ecumenical. What makes it not ecumenical is because it was condemned by the Pope. Okay, so there are poisonous spiders somewhere, because those are the kinds of spiders that spawn. Okay, yeah, there's the spawner that spawn in mine shafts. So we have to destroy this as soon as possible. I'm just afraid that there's spiders down there, and I don't want to die. That would not be good. So let's see if we can dig down here and destroy it. I'm not entirely sure if we can. Okay. Yes, we can. Boom. Perfect. Okay. And I'm not. Oh gosh, there's a skeleton somewhere. I don't want it to shoot me. Okay. So I think I've addressed those points sufficiently. I keep forgetting what I'm going to say just because something interesting happens, and I don't want to die. I don't want to brain fart like last time and die. The reception of ecumenical councils as ecumenical and binding for the whole church depends upon papal ratification, and the Council of Hieria didn't receive papal ratification and therefore wasn't considered an ecumenical council and isn't binding. Let's go ahead and make an iron sword, because we can do that. All right. Boom. And then might as well make this into torches. Okay. And we can just leave that there because I don't want that in my inventory. Okay. I hear spiders. I keep hearing spiders. They must be, like, above me or something. Oh, yes. There's that up there. Okay. So let's build up here and check our corners. Oh, okay. There is a mine cart there. Oh, we should have made a bucket. Okay. There's the skeleton. Boom. Okay, yeah, and there's another bow. Nice. Let's go ahead and repair this. All right. So, what's in here? Aqua Affinity. We don't want the Curse of Binding. We don't really need the rails. We have, let's see. Oh, we have bread now. We might as well just leave this minecart and just, we don't really need those, honestly. Yeah, cool. All right. And so, yeah, let's go ahead and continue playing. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do.
There was not a consensus in the church. So what was all this about? The Seventh Ecumenical Council addresses the issue of icons. The Seventh Ecumenical Council says you must not only have icons in church, you must venerate icons. You must bow to wooden pictures. You must kiss the icons, or you're going to burn in hell. It literally...
Okay. Yeah, so this is kind of funny because all the canons say, they're not adding like an extra requirement for salvation. Like whoever doesn't venerate these icons is definitely going to go to hell. It's just saying whenever it says if you don't venerate, whoever doesn't venerate these icons, let him be anathema. That's merely seen as a condemnation of those who would say it's illicit or immoral or wrong or condemned to venerate icons. And so it's definitely spiritually edifying to venerate icons, but just the way that he's portraying this, I think he is being affected by the highly polemical context of these councils. But really what it's not saying, oh, if you've never venerated an icon in your life, you're going to go to hell. That just wasn't the position of the council. So reading from the decree of the synod, it says, "We salute the venerable images. We place under anathema those who do not do this. Anathema to them who presume to apply to the venerable images the things said in Scripture about idols. Anathema to those who do not salute the holy and venerable images. Anathema to those who call the sacred images idols. Anathema to those who say that Christians resort to the sacred images as to gods. Anathema to those who say that any other delivered us from idols except Christ our God. Anathema to those who dare to say that at any time the Catholic Church received idols." And so fundamentally, the Council Fathers saw as erroneous to say that the Catholic Church could defect from the faith and could embrace this erroneous understanding such that the Catholic Church would endorse and teach and practice idolatry. They saw this as extremely erroneous. As you know, as anyone would in these centuries, who would say, or as any of the fathers would, against those who say that the Catholic Church fell into a grave heresy. The Catholic Church, according to these fathers, is indefectible, and the Catholic Church is indestructible and must always hold to the true faith. And this is just abundantly clear. If you need any more examples of this, or if you want any specific examples of this, rather, just go to my video on ecumenical councils proving that the Church Fathers did indeed believe that ecumenical councils and ecumenical consensus was preserved from error by the power of the Holy Spirit. And so it is tantamount to denying the providence of God in preserving the church from error by saying the Catholic Church fell into such heresy as to as to worship idols or worship anything other than God. Okay, so I'm not sure if we really need this amethyst. I was calling it crystals. Amethyst. at the moment. I know that you can craft something from these, so I might as well take some of these shards. I forget what it is. These blocks look kind of cool, and so if we need them, here's the coordinates: 3722, -308, because I know likely my my face cam will be blocking that. But yeah, so those anathemas really are meant to say, like, look, people who deny the validity and the licitness and the benefit of producing and venerating images, they're condemned by the council. It's not saying, oh, if you haven't done this yet, then you're going to hell. So anyway, because if you abstain from doing this, it would reveal something erroneous about your understanding of the church, of Christology, and of Christian piety. So anyways, get that out of the way. And I get, hearing that, I get how Redeemed Zoomer would have that impression. But really, if you listen to historians and how they articulate what is meant by these councils, as well as just those living at this time and what they meant by these councils, it's evident that that's not what they meant. Unless you include in your private devotional time, you're kissing these images and you're going straight to the depths of hell. Yeah, that's not it.
It really says that. You could read it. It also says if you don't think icon veneration has always been the practice of the church, you're also going to burn in hell, even though we have strong evidence that a lot of people in the early church did not venerate icons. They
Wait, let's let him finish, I guess.
might have had pictures of Jesus, but it was only for teaching purposes. Icon veneration is clearly something that gradually evolved in the church.
Okay, as Catholics, we can concede that the practice of venerating icons, i.e., the way in which we would show reverence to those what these icons depicted, has developed throughout history, and actually Nicaea II doesn't rule that out. And if you want a very, very, very thorough explanation and defense of this position, I highly suggest my friend Swan Sona's presentation on Reason and Theology. That's Michael Lofton's channel, where he defends the historicity and the validity of Nicaea II, of the canons, and what it's teaching there. And really what he says is some sort, really what he explains the council to be teaching is that some sort of creation and religious use of images goes back to the apostles. And this really does seem to be evident from the fact that certain religious images of Christ, or certain images of Christ, were produced in the first century. According to the Church Fathers, one example would be the hemorrhaging woman, and I'm pretty sure tradition identifies this woman as Saint Veronica, if I'm not mistaken. But apparently, there was a image crafted by this woman of Christ after he healed her. And to this image, to this statue, is attributed many healings in the patristic era. And so that's one example that the Council Fathers brings up. Also, if the Shroud of Turin is proven to be from the first century and authentic to that time period, it would also indicate that religious imagery and images of Christ is actually given to us by God Himself. Now, the veneration of icons doesn't really rely upon the historicity of the Shroud of Turin, but I do think that the facts would support the historicity of the Shroud of Turin, and they've actually done scientific studies of this recently, so I would highly suggest looking into those. From the past couple of years, they've actually dated this shroud to go back to the first century. Oftentimes, it was asserted that, oh shoot, I have to make another pickaxe. Oftentimes, it was asserted that this was a medieval forgery, and this opinion has actually been debunked as of recent years. So yeah, we could go on. There's the veil of Veronica. There's certain images according to tradition that are traceable to the first century and were kept for religious purposes. And so, anyways, there's that. And then he says that the use of images for teaching is really what the church fathers were envisioning whenever they used these images. And I would just say, as well as, Swan Sona, again, go check out this, his amazing treatment on the subject, using these images in a way that calls to mind what Christ, what God has done in salvation history and through his saints, is exactly what we mean by veneration. It's just not restricted to that. So we would say that is applicable.
But the thing is, there was a council called the Council of Hieria that responded to this rise of icon veneration in the church. And it said, guys, stop bowing to pictures. They were saying this icon veneration thing is getting out of hand. So the Council of Hieria was an iconoclast council. It ordered that all images of God be removed. However, that council was eventually overturned by the church and replaced with the Second Council of Nicaea, which said the exact opposite thing. So the Catholic and Orthodox churches to this day affirm the Second Council of Nicaea and not the Council of Hieria, even though the Council of Hieria had more bishops than the Second Council of Nicaea.
Yeah, that's true. But as I said, it's not strictly the number of bishops that were capable and able to attend and who did attend that would make something an ecumenical council. Now, it's preferable that as many bishops as possible to attend. You're actually expected to attend if you are a bishop. But if you have reasons that you cannot attend, then it is what it is, and that doesn't make it an invalid ecumenical council for having less bishops, for having less representation. As it so happens, there were actually Arian councils in the 4th century between the Council of Nicaea and the Council of Constantinople that did have a lot of representation among the bishops. That doesn't mean it was an authentic act of the church exercising its extraordinary magisterium, because it didn't receive papal ratification. Ecumenical councils require papal ratification in order for them to be considered ecumenical. Same thing goes with the Synod, the Robber Council. I actually forget how many were present at the Robber Council, but there were hundreds. Let me actually check. I think there were more at the Robber Council than there were at the Council of Chalcedon. Okay, I was wrong. So the Council of Chalcedon actually did have more bishops, but the Robber Council of Ephesus that rivaled the Council of Chalcedon was actually, it had as many bishops as Constantinople III, which is the 6th Ecumenical Council. And so, yeah, it isn't strictly the number of bishops. It's not like this minimum number of bishops that is required. The thing that is strictly required is that the thing that is required, the thing that is technically required for the convocation of an ecumenical council is that the presence of the bishops is requested, so they're invited. They have a seat at the council, and the Pope ratifies the decisions made at the council. So, and that also explains why certain decisions of ecumenical councils were never considered to be ecumenical. So the canons of Constantinople weren't considered to be ecumenical, and the especially Canon 3 was never accepted as ecumenical. Neither the 28th canon of what was it? Goodness gracious. I think it was the 28th canon of Constantinople too, if I remember correctly, that also tries to give some sort of secondary primacy to Constantinople above Antioch and Alexandria. And so Yeah, those canons were never accepted as ecumenical, and so they were condemned by the Holy See, and so they don't properly belong to the Ecumenical Council, even if they were ratified by some bishops at the council itself. So yeah, that's the theory for ecumenical councils as to why certain things were accepted and why certain things weren't. And I think that the Catholic Church actually has the most coherent view of why certain things are accepted and why certain councils are ecumenical and why certain ones aren't. Okay, there's another one. Poison spiders. Here we go. Our theory as to why certain ecumenical councils or certain councils are ecumenical would also give valid. Oh gosh, it's thundering outside. Would also be supported by the fact that we are the only apostolic church to continue to actually hold ecumenical councils, and so the Eastern churches are incapable of holding ecumenical councils. They haven't held an ecumenical council since they've been in communion with us. Gosh, 6 seconds for poison? Goodness. I would like to heal up a little bit before going to destroy that. I wish we had a bucket of water. Come on, dude. Okay. Let's heal up some more, I think. Let's see here. How do we do this safely? Okay. I hear spiders everywhere. Okay. So let's go ahead and continue listening to him while we take out these spiders.
Reasons why Reformed churches do not affirm the Second Council of Nicaea, why we do not affirm the Seventh Ecumenical Council. One, like I said, it does not reflect a consensus in the church. And number two, its Christology is kind of messed up. So the Oriental Orthodox churches, the Miaphysite churches, those churches do venerate icons, but they admit that the Christology of the Seventh Ecumenical Council is kind of Nestorian. Here's why. Iconoclasm, the position that we should not...
So this is extremely ironic. So he's claiming that the Second Council of Nicaea, the Seventh Ecumenical Council, uses Nestorian reasoning in its acceptance, in its approval of the veneration of icons. Why do I keep hearing so many spiders? Where are they, dude? Are they underneath there or something? Where are they? They must be in like a cave above that I can't see or something. So he's going to claim that they are using Nestorian reasoning to ground icon veneration, and the Monophysites or the Miaphysite Church, depending on I think they're Miaphysite, the Oriental Orthodox Church, who still venerates icons, which is kind of ironic. Now, there's a reason why Miaphysite Oriental Orthodox Christians would consider the Second Council of Nicaea to be Nestorian. There's a very important reason why they would consider it to be Nestorian, because this has actually been a part of their reasoning for rejecting Chalcedonian Christianity ever since their conception. And so, just a few things, just a few notes of irony. There's that. Number two, I noted that they don't accept Chalcedon, because Chalcedon actually condemned the monophysite view, that is, the view that Christ has only one incarnate nature. Okay, buddy. And so this group has been in existence as a continuation of the monophysites, the monophysite movement, ever since the mid-5th century. And they venerate icons. Okay, so see the irony in this. He says that icon veneration, he implies at least that icon veneration, and correct me if I'm wrong, he implies icon veneration is a relatively new practice by the time the Council of Hieria meets. Okay, and so he says it's because of icon veneration, because of the he says it's because of the rise of icon veneration that the Council of Hieria had to meet and condemn that position. But then he says people who weren't in communion with the Catholic Church for hundreds of years before that also venerate icons even to this day. So that part is just kind of funny. So he proves himself wrong there in that icon veneration is seen to be older than he's insinuating. Second off, he says the reasoning of the Second Council of Nicaea is Nestorian, and look, even these monophysites who hold to at least what amounts to be, in our view, a Christological heresy regarding the nature of Christ as incarnate, we would say, as diaphysites or Catholic Christians, we would say that Christ it has two natures, one fully human, one fully divine, united in one person. In the monophysites would take an erroneous interpretation of Saint Cyril, in that he used the term physis to refer to person instead of nature, but they think he used it to refer to nature. So they use this the formula of Saint Cyril as one incarnate nature of Christ. But they mean it in a heterodox, a heretical way, to mean that Christ has one nature that is in at least in the more radical articulations of this. The Eutychians would say that Christ's divinity was subsumed, or Christ's humanity was subsumed by his divinity, and so whenever Christ became incarnate, there were two natures prior to his incarnation, but there was only one nature after his incarnation, and this is because Christ's divinity basically ate his humanity, and because Christ's divinity is infinite, and Christ's humanity is finite, he has this weird fusion of natures such that he wouldn't really be consubstantial with humans. So yeah, just monophysitism is really weird and erroneous in itself. But now we're going to listen to the reason why the Second Council of Nicaea is condemned as Nestorian by those who are also condemned under the pain of anathema by an ecumenical council of the Catholic Church for introducing a novelty of Christology, a heresy of Christology that's basically an equal and opposite reaction against Nestorianism. And sorry, I should probably explain Redeem Zoomer might actually explain, but Nestorianism confesses that since there are two natures of Christ, what Nestorianism does is it separates the natures of Christ so much that they become two separate subjects. And so because the natures of Christ, divine and human, are two subjects, it separates them so much so that Christ really is two persons. And so this is where you get the denial by Nestorians of the title Theotokos, or God-bearer or Mother of God, that we have traditionally applied to Mary. And so we confess Mary to be the Mother of God because Jesus truly is divine, and there aren't two subjects in Christ. We would say, there are two creepers. We would say that Christ's humanity and divinity are perfectly united, not confused, not separated, but distinct, not mixed in one person. And this is just the historic Catholic view. And so Nestorius would deny this by saying, okay, no, actually, Mary can only be confessed to be the mother of either Jesus, which refers to the human nature of Christ, or of the mother of Christ, or the bearer of Christ, which refers to both. And so the incarnate Christ would be both subjects, divine and human. So anyways, a lot of background there, but it's important to address because of the claims that Redeem Zoomer is going to make in this section of the video. Oh my goodness. Okay. Oh, he broke my shield. Okay. I think we should make another shield. Real fast. Okay. So let's go up here, secure this area, make another shield while we're listening to Zoomer. There we go.
Those churches do venerate icons, but they admit that the Christology of the Seventh Ecumenical Council is kind of Nestorian. Here's why. Iconoclasm, the position that we should not make images of God, is profoundly anti-Nestorian. The second commandment says, do not make images of God. And the defense for having images of Jesus is, okay, we're only making an image of the human nature. But the iconoclast response is, no, you can't separate the natures. Any image of Christ is also an image of God. Any image of Jesus' humanity is also an image of God. You can't separate the natures. So the response to that in the Second Council of Nicaea is kind of Nestorian, because they are saying, the Second Council of Nicaea actually does say, we venerate the images, but we're not worshiping the images because worship belongs to the divine nature alone. That's the big problem. It's kind of Nestorian to say that you're worshiping the divine nature rather than the three persons of the Trinity. We worship persons. We don't worship natures. We don't worship Jesus' divine nature specifically. We worship the person of Christ, who is both truly God and truly man. I'm not.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so there are so many things there that just need corrected. Okay. He's arguing that it's Nestorian for two reasons. One, because the Old Testament prohibits making images of God, and to justify the creation of images of Christ because he has a human nature and because he became visible is to separate Christ's human and divine nature. Okay? And so if you're saying you can make images of Christ because, it's okay because he's human, is to say, okay, you don't have to follow the prohibition against creating images of God, because you're saying, basically, functionally, you're saying that Jesus isn't really God by making, or the subject of your image that you are portraying in your image isn't the divine, it is the human. It is a human person, which is the error of Nestorianism. So, first of all, that isn't the reasoning that the council gives. Okay? Shoot. I just killed him with my pickaxe. Sorry, I'm out of my mind right now. I can't even. I'm trying to focus on too many things at once. So first, he says that the second commandment, that is, at least the first commandment according to the Catholic and Augustinian enumeration of the commandments, which is just the prohibition of against idolatry, actually prohibits making images of God. I'm going to go ahead and read that commandment. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord, am your God. I am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. So if we're interpreting this commandment, this prohibition against idolatry, as simply making images in general, then we ought not to make images of literally anything. Okay, it says anything in the heavens above, or in the earth below, or in the waters below. Okay, so it's not just don't make images of God. This is prohibiting making idols and worshiping them as gods. And so, if you were taking this to mean just a strict prohibition against depicting anything whatsoever, then you would have to delete your social media. You would have to not take any pictures, no videos. If you depicted anything in the earth above, in the in the heavens above, in the earth beneath, or in the waters below, then you would be in violation of this commandment. So I think that this interpretation of the commandment as a just strict prohibition of representing things, that's just incoherent, especially considering, as we said earlier, God commanded the depiction and the actual making engraved images of cherubim for the Ark of the Covenant, as well as embroidering them in the cloth of the temple, in the tabernacle. Okay, so this certainly isn't a prohibition against making any images whatsoever. However, there is a sense in which we can say the creation of images that were meant to depict God were prohibited under the Old Covenant, because God is invisible. God's essence is invisible. It isn't able to be seen by the human eye. And so if we are to fashion anything after the likeness of any created thing and worship it as if it were God, then that would be condemned by this commandment. So this is what happens in Deuteronomy 4:12 through 19. This article is actually really good in identifying John of Damascus, or John Damascene's position and defense of icons and icon veneration. And so I'm going to link this in the description below if you want to read up more on it. But this section is taken from the Septuagint translation of Deuteronomy, and it says this: "And the Lord spoke to you from the midst of the fire. You heard a voice, but you saw not any likeness," or homoioma, only a voice. "And he showed you his covenant, which he commanded you to do, and the 10 words that he wrote in 2 tablets of stone. You saw no likeness in the day that the Lord spoke to you in Horeb from the midst of the fire, lest perhaps being deceived you might make a carved likeness, any kind of image, the likeness of male or female, the likeness of any beasts that are upon the earth, the likeness of birds that fly under heaven, the likeness of creeping things that move on the earth, the likeness of fish that abide in the waters under the earth, lest perhaps, lifting up your eyes to heaven, seeing the sun and the moon, and all the heavenly bodies, you go astray and worship latruiusis." Sorry, it doesn't have the Greek word. It's just a transliteration of the word, so I'm trying to pronounce it correctly. Latruuses, worship them and serve them, which the Lord your God created for the service of all the nations that are under heaven. Goodness, dude. Is there like a skeleton spawner somewhere? Goodness, dude. Okay. See an Enderman over there too. We don't want a repeat of last time, am I right? Okay. And so, yeah, there has to be some skeleton spawner somewhere. And so the point is, God didn't appear to the Israelites having any form because the divine nature is invisible. It isn't circumscribed. You can't see it with human eyes. Okay, God had not assumed a human nature yet, and so to depict any created thing and to worship it as if that were depicting God would inevitably lead to, and actually would in essence be, idol worship, because it would be worshiping the type of that, or the antitype of that image, which would be a created being. And so if I depicted God as a pig and I worshipped the image of that pig, that would be idolatry, because that isn't how God looks, because God is not a created being and he's invisible. However, the whole context changes after the incarnation, when God is made visible. He makes himself visible. The divine Son, the divine person of the Son, assumes human nature and becomes visible. And so God is capable of being seen, not according to the divine nature, obviously that continues to remain invisible, but according to the human nature of Christ, assumed by the divine person. I just made 12 buttons because I wasn't paying attention. Goodness, dude. Boom. Cool. So basically, this commandment prohibits the creation of images that attempt to depict God in his divinity, in the very divine essence, because God is unseen. But the reason this all changes after the incarnation is because God the Son, the second person of the divine Trinity, has willed to be perceivable, to be seen by men in his human nature. And so this isn't, if we depict Christ according to the way he has chosen to be perceived according to our senses, that is, according to his human nature, that is forever, unchangeably, and just immutably united to his divine nature, then we are capable of depicting, oh, hey, look, one of those cherry blossom biomes. I thought we lost one of those forever in the last last attempt of playing this this freaking game, this hardcore. Okay, where is the village? Is it over in that direction somewhere? I believe it's through the forest, but that's cool. Going facing north, cool. And so, since the divine person of the Logos has assumed human nature, he has thereby become visible for us. Okay, there's a cat here, so that means we're getting close to the village. Yeah, here it is. He has made himself tangible, not according to his divine nature. That would be, I believe that would be a kind of error of the monophysites. He didn't make his divine nature visible to us. Rather, he made himself visible to us by assuming a human nature. Okay, so we've got quite a lot of cobblestone now. Let's go ahead and organize this chest before we start any new building projects. Why don't we? So anytime we can see Christ in his human nature performing an action, we can say that the divine person, the second person of the Trinity, is performing that very action, because there are not two subjects in Christ. There are two natures in the one person of Christ. And I'm actually going to play a clip from Redeemed Zoomer illustrating this fact in his video that he just recently posted against John MacArthur, because John MacArthur is a modern-day Baptist Nestorian, and who says that God didn't bleed and die on the cross for us, and God wasn't born, and Mary isn't the mother of God; she is only the mother of Jesus, or the mother of Christ. So this is a modern day Nestorian, John MacArthur, and this is what Redeemed Zoomer says in rebutting John MacArthur, and in demonstrating and articulating the Chalcedonian position of the two natures of Christ united in one person.
So to prevent separating the two natures, it's really important that we can use the names Jesus, God, and Christ interchangeably. Anytime you can use the word Jesus in a sentence, you can swap out that word for God, and it will still be accurate because of the union between the divine and human natures in Christ. So, for example, let's say you were living at the time of Christ, you saw Jesus walking in the market, you saw Jesus walking over there. You could point to him and say, hey, there's God walking over there. When Jesus was born, you could say God was born. When Jesus was bleeding on the cross, you could say that blood is the blood of God. If you can't say that, if you feel like you can't say that, that is Nestorianism. That is separating the divinity and the humanity of Christ. The names are interchangeable. So why does this matter? Here's a question. Do we worship a God who died for us? Nestorius said no. Nestorius said, no, God didn't die for us. The human
Okay, so did you hear Redeem Zoomer? The names Christ, God, Jesus are interchangeable because within the divine person, the second person of the Trinity, there is a fully human nature and fully divine nature. So two natures united in one person. And whenever we can look over there and see Jesus walking, we can say Jesus is walking over there, we can say Christ is walking over there, and we can say God is walking over there. Because when we see the divine person of the Son acting in his human nature, what he does in his human nature is attributable to the divine person acting, because there's not two subjects within Christ. When Jesus died on the cross, we can say God died on the cross because he is a divine person with two natures capable of acting according to either nature. So we can say God was crucified. We can say God died. We can say God hungered and thirsted and ate and drank. But we're not saying these things as if the divine nature hungered, as if the divine nature thirsted, as if the divine nature was mutable. We're saying this because the divine person of the Logos assumed a human nature that was capable of being mutable, capable of suffering, dying, hungering, thirsting, being afflicted, all of these things, okay? And so because we can say that the divine person of the Son is able to be perceived with our senses, Saint John says this in his first epistle. What we perceived with our eyes, what our hands have touched, what we have heard concerning the word of life. He's writing these things against the Docetists, the Docetists or the Docetists, however you want to pronounce that word. It's a Greek transliteration, so it doesn't really matter. He's writing these things against people, against Gnostics who believe that Jesus wasn't fully human and that he only appeared to be human. And so he's saying, look, he was truly human. He did really assume a human nature. He was really touched, felt, seen, heard, perceived with our senses. Okay, if we can say all of these things about God in his human nature is acting, then if we depict Christ according to the way that he became visible for us, that is, according to his human nature, then it is in no way idolatrous. It is in no way Nestorian. It is in no way monophysite to depict him according to his human nature, as if that were to separate the human and divine nature, or to merge or confuse the natures, simply because that is the way in which Christ has willed to reveal himself to us. So in former days, before God took upon himself a nature that is visible, i.e. a human nature, he was not to be depicted as any created thing, because the only things that are visible in themselves are created, and the divine nature isn't visible, it's invisible according to Scripture. But in the time of our Lord's incarnation, he makes himself capable of being depicted. After Christ's ascension, and when his apostles remembered the things that Christ did, do you think that they remembered the way that he looked whenever he was performing certain actions? Of course they did, because they were with him, and they remember the way that he his appearance. Was their mental representation of Christ Nestorian or monophysite? No, because one is capable of depicting the visible nature of Christ without necessarily separating it from his divine nature, which is necessarily invisible. So the subject of the depiction is the same. We're not saying, oh, you can depict Jesus or you can depict Christ, but you can't depict Jesus as God. Okay, that smelled things over. There we go. That was a pretty good mining haul if I do say so myself. Colossians 1:15 says, Christ is the image of the invisible God. And guess what the word in Greek for image is? Icon, or transliterated icon. Okay, Jesus became visible, and so he is the icon, the image of the invisible God. Can calcite be smooth? No, it can't. But calcite, I thought this was marble for some reason. That looks a lot better than polished diorite, in my opinion. So we're gonna go ahead and use that. Actually, I think we'll go ahead and start smelting some cobblestone. Just because I think having stone bricks would look pretty good. And so this is a notable section from St. John Damascene in his defense of icons. I venerate together with the King and God the purple robe of his body, not as a garment, nor as a fourth person. For the nature of the flesh did not become divinity, that would be monophysitism, but as the Word became flesh immutably, remaining what it was, so also the flesh became the Word without losing what it was, being rather made equal to the Word hypostatically. Therefore I am emboldened to depict the invisible God not as invisible, but as he became visible for our sake by participation in flesh and blood. So I do not depict the invisible divinity, but I depict God made visible in the flesh. So we are permitted to depict God in the way he willed to become visible for our sakes. That is, we depict God made visible in the flesh. And so notice, it's not Nestorian to say we depict God as he willed to be depicted according to his human nature, because we're not saying that we're not depicting God, because we are depicting God. And to say, oh, we're not depicting God, we're depicting the human Jesus, that would be Nestorian, but that's not the reasoning of the Second Council of Nicaea. We're capable of depicting God, the second person of the Trinity, simply because he chose to become visible for our sakes. Let's see how we can connect these two. There we go. And I think we're going to go ahead and make slabs. Anyways, my friends, had to get a shot of espresso to finish this video out, but I am low on time. I really need to finish this church. It's nighttime, and I totally forgot about this. I need to make this icon. Shoot, am I going to be able to make this icon by the end of the video? I don't know. I don't know if maybe I need to lock in and do it. I don't know if I can do it while I'm commenting. But I do need to figure out a way to depict it. Hold on. Boom. And let's go ahead and decrease this. Okay, survival, convert. I don't know, dude. Yeah, we could totally do this. Not by this episode, but we've got to do something. Yeah, eventually we'll do this. So anyways, that was a very long explanation. Basically, all I'm saying is it's very funny to call this council Nestorian, especially considering, and I might have mentioned this last time I recorded, so this might actually be in the first part of the video. But the rise of the iconoclast movement was actually occasioned by Latter-day Monophysite communities. So it's no wonder that they, number one, think that our justification of it is Nestorian, but number two, not only was the movement, the first vestiges of iconoclasm occasioned by Latter-day Monophysite communities, but also, whenever you look at the justification given by Emperor Constantine the Fifth, it isn't orthodox. It isn't in accordance with Miaphysite reasoning. It's actually a combination of Monophysite Christology as well as Nestorian Christology. It's which is extremely ironic. And this, just so you don't take my word for it, this is pretty standard information. And the fact that he was influenced by Nestorianism and monophysitism, actually, at least especially Nestorianism, is just... Oops. Hello? And I'm back. Okay, this is the last time I am taking a break from recording this video. I'm going to finish this video. I'm going to finish this church right this instant. We're not going to have the materials nor the time to make an icon for Iconopolis, that's what we're calling this. But we will in next episode, and we will be giving our church a name, although we can't receive the sacraments or perform mass in it yet because we don't have a cleric. I'm not sure how the cleric's going to receive apostolic succession, but that's a whole nother story because it's not going to be a valid church apart from that. But, at least we'll have the building. Anyways, just want to finish this out. What I had been talking about before, and actually I want to go, I think I saw like a river. Yeah, I'm going to go over here. Actually, I'm going to go over here and get some sand, make some glass so that we can put that in our church. But I also see some pigs over there, and I want to make sure that we can trap them so we can use them later. Actually, we don't have a carrot. Oh, this is going to look so good in here. Anyways, what I was saying is I was addressing for a very long time the claim made by Redeemed Zoomer and made by the Miaphysite communities that the Second Council of Nicaea, the Seventh Ecumenical Council, uses Nestorian reasoning, and I was just demonstrating how that isn't the case. And it's the reason why it's so ironic is because the Council of Hieria, following in suit with the Theological Treatise of Constantine V, was using either Nestorian or Monophysite reasoning to condemn iconography and the veneration of icons. Okay, and just so you know that this isn't me just like pulling this out of nowhere. Constantine V actually thought that it was not right to consider Mary the Mother of God. So he was obviously influenced by Nestorianism, although he tried to condemn Nestorianism, and he was obviously influenced by some sort of Latter-day Monophysite communities, even though he tried to condemn monophysitism. Okay, so really the extent to which he tried to condemn these heresies is just the extent to which he tried tying it to the Orthodox Catholic position. Okay, so this isn't a real like accusation where he's like, oh, gotcha there, you guys are actually Nestorian or actually Monophysite. He was really just trying to tie, he was trying to slander the position or the Catholic position by tying it to heresies, when in reality it's just like, okay, dude, like you're using their reasoning. Like you are literally using their reasoning to support this iconoclastic notion of not being able to depict the second person of the Trinity. And so here are the errors that you can fall into if you deny the fact that Christ can be depicted with recourse to depicting his human nature. Okay, so if you say you cannot make images of Christ because you won't represent him completely because you aren't able to you aren't able to circumscribe or adequately portray the divine nature, you are falling into either monophysitism or Nestorianism. You may be falling into the error of monophysitism because, as we said earlier, they conceived of this this nature of Christ after his incarnation that would deny that Christ has two natures, and this is we're speaking of like pure Eutychian monophysitism, not like the Miaphysite understanding that could be taken in an Orthodox sense. We're talking about true monophysitism, where the natures of Christ are fused. So there were two natures, but prior to the incarnation, but then after the incarnation, there's actually only one nature where the divine subsumes the human. Okay, and so Christ is not doesn't just have a human and divine nature. He has one nature that's a fusion of both of them. Okay. The reason why it's heretical to say it is heretical to try and depict Christ because you can't depict his divine nature is to confuse the way in which we are able to perceive Christ in a visible way. Okay. So monophysites would say you can't adequately express Christ's divinity if you're just painting his physical attributes, his physical nature, to which we would just reply, okay, we don't believe that Christ's divine nature is somehow able to be perceived visibly. And so we depict him in the way that he wills for us to, oh my goodness, I'm gonna die. Come on now, guy, what the heck? I need to get some food up in here. So if you're saying that a depiction, a visible depiction of Christ according to his human nature is heretical because it can't adequately express his divinity, you're falling into the error of monophysitism, which says that Christ has one fused nature that's somehow both human and divine. That's just sort of a mixture of them both. Okay, that's heretical because we believe that Christ has two natures. So yes, we can depict Christ according to his human nature, and we don't need to somehow try and depict his divine nature because his divine nature is invisible. It's not able to be perceived by the human eye. Or you are falling into the error of Nestorianism, which, if you remember, splits the two natures of Christ into two subjects, which functionally that's splitting them into two separate persons. And so if you're saying, okay, if you depict the human nature of Christ, you're not depicting the entirety of Christ, then you're just saying, okay, you're only depicting the human person of Christ as if there were two subjects in Christ. So the Catholic position has always been that you can depict Christ according to his visible nature because he has been made visible. And there's no need to try and depict his divine nature as if thinking and looking at how he physically appears is comparable to saying, okay, I'm looking at the human Christ, but there's this divine Christ that I'm not able to look at. Okay, so ultimately speaking, there's a shipwreck over there. I think that's a shipwreck. I don't have Optifine installed. Oh my goodness, that's the thing that we can craft with the crystals. We can craft a telescope. I completely forgot about that part. Spyglass. Okay, 2 copper ingots. Yeah, we can do that. Boom. And I think that we should dye this glass. I'm not sure what color. I guess we could just do blue since we have lapis already. All right, here we go. And then we'll make these into panes. We'll make this into a cross. Boom. Isn't that epic? Look how epic that is. Let's go, dude. Wish we had a lantern. How do we make lanterns? Isn't that with like copper? Or no, not copper. Iron, obviously. Let's do this. Iron. And yes. Let's make 2 lanterns. Don't want them. I'll just do this. Yeah, there we go. Boom, dude. Let's go. All right, spyglass. There we go. I've never used one of these in vanilla Minecraft. We're going to go over here and see if this is actually a shipwreck. Was that a shipwreck over there? Where did I see that? Was that not actually a shipwreck? Oh, there's a fallen, or what is that called? A portal thing that's fallen. I guess that wasn't a shipwreck. I was just seeing things. But we are going to that portal over there. So all in all, accusations of flawed Christology on part of the Miaphysites and on a part... Oh, there's another village over there too. My goodness, let's go. We could totally connect these villages with like a pathway. Oh my goodness, that's so epic. Iconoclasm, and then I think next episode we'll just go and explore this village over here, but I kind of want to just do the ruined portal. That's what it's called. Anyways, so yeah, his accusations of flawed Christology poorly miss, and they actually bounce back and hit him because the accusers of Catholics actually operated according to flawed Christological principles that the heretics used to justify their heretical doctrine. Okay, there's a gold, boom. Okay, and is there no chest? I guess there's no chest here. What the world? Seriously? That's weird. Huh. All right then. Guess there's no chest. That stinks. Well, next episode we will go do... Which direction is this? Due south and evangelize the Eskimos over there. However, I think it's time to go back, complete this church. And so, yes, in the end, because of the intervention of the Orthodox Empress Irene and her son Constantine VI, the Orthodoxy prevailed. And really, it was a very, very nasty time prior to the Council of Nicaea II, just simply because, as I noted earlier, like the persecutions that were initiated by Constantine V were just like ruthless, and they were very unchristian, right? There were holy relics that were long venerated in these churches that he had cast out, destroyed, trampled under feet, and there were holy icons, obviously, that were also destroyed. And then intercessory prayer to the saints was also spurned, and he just tried to uproot orthodoxy. And thankfully, according to the grace of God and the guidance of the Holy Spirit, the church was able to prevail in the ultimate in the end. So it took a lot of effort on behalf of the bishops of the church, but thankfully God is omnipotent, and he is infinitely capable of overthrowing Satan's deceit whenever he sows error. All right, how are we going to finish this church off? I think adding the stone brick is definitely helping. We have to kind of mix it in. I'm thinking of having another support going there, maybe, or maybe along the side here. That might be good. In the middle of that. We'll just have to see. Let me get some more. Let me actually put this in my chest first. There we are. Let's put this stuff in there. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that we listen to all of the video, all of the relevant sections on Nicaea II.
Because they are saying, the Second Council of Nicaea actually does say, we venerate the images, but we're not worshiping the images because worship belongs to the divine nature alone. That's the big problem. It's kind of Nestorian to say that you're worshiping the divine nature rather than the three persons of the Trinity.
Okay. Goodness gracious. The Council of Nicaea doesn't say, oh, we don't worship these images because we have to worship the divine nature and these images are just the human nature. No, these depictions of Christ according to his human nature are a depiction of the hypostasis, the person of the Son. Oh, what the world? The camera goes outside of the glass. When did it start doing that? Yeah, I think we'll just do this. There. Right. like this. And we'll put that there. Don't need this there. Okay, yeah, that looks good, I think. That looks good. And we look upon the image as an aid to point us towards the divine person that is Christ. Okay, so it's not saying, oh, we don't worship the image because that's not the image isn't the divine nature. The image isn't even the human nature either. It's a depiction of Christ according to his human nature. And so it points us to Christ by means of the way in which he became visible for us. And I think this is tall enough as far as this goes. And then I believe we can start with this. Okay, let's get some wood. I think I know what I'm going to do with this. Okay, I think that's pretty much the extent of our response to Redeem Zoomer, so I'm going to finish up this church, and then I think we're going to sign off. Boom, does this look good? Not sure. Maybe... How am I going to get down here? Okay, let's fall on this ledge. Okay. And there we go. Okay, let's see how this looks. Wow. I'm not sure what to think. Yeah, you know what? It looks okay. It looks okay. I think we'll add some wood there. And then it will be complete. Okay, that's something. You know, that is something. I think we can live with that. But we should add a cross over here too. For the finishing touch, we will add... Boom. There we are. This is the first church for this city, Iconopolis, and considering we named this village Iconopolis, we are going to eventually build an icon of Christ at the entrance to this village, and we're also going to bring the Catholic religion to that other village due south of here. And so, yes, and finally, we're going to put a sign on the front of this church. This is Saint John Damascus. Saint John Damascus. Damascus. Can't really see it very well. But this is Saint John Damascus Parish. Oh, there's an Enderman. And this is the crowning glory of Iconopolis so far, and only until we build that icon of Christ. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a thumbs up, and I hope that by my learning the faith, your faith will be strengthened as well. You have an amazing day, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.